Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Cavaliers Weekly on the Bleacher Report app. My name is Mikey McNuggets. I work for the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and today I have a very important task. I was given the responsibility of making the definitive case as to why Evan Mobley should be the NBA's 2024-2025 Defensive Player of the Year. And I have put together a stat sheet that I am going to send the Cavaliers to help them campaign for Evan Mobley as the DPOY. Now, for anyone who's unfamiliar with the situation we currently are at, let me fill you in so you're up to speed before we dive into the bulletproof data that proves Evan should be the DPOY. When Wembanyama got hurt earlier this season, he was the heavy favorite to win the award, and there would be no argument whatsoever on who the most impactful defender in basketball is. The answer is Victor Wembanyama. It is a gigantic space between him and the rest of the field. But when he got hurt, he had not reached the threshold to win the award. He did not reach that 65-game minimum in order to be eligible. So when he went out and was announced he would miss the rest of the season, the Vegas books changed drastically. Wembanyama went from being the heavy favorite to Jaren Jackson Jr. of the Memphis Grizzlies and Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers being the favorites at relatively low odds, but still the favorites to win the award. Now, since that day, Mobley has continued to play at the same defensive level he had prior to Wemby getting hurt. Jaren Jackson's missed a couple of games here and there. The Grizzlies have imploded. They fired their head coach. He has fallen out of the top category for Defensive Player of the Year favorites, according to Las Vegas. And Draymond Green, who was nowhere near the top of the leaderboard when this all started, has now crept up into the top two slots. And in some books, he is considered the favorite, and not just a slight favorite, but a heavy favorite to take home the hardware. Part of the reason? Well, Draymond has a large platform. He has his own podcast. When he speaks, people listen. And he started a campaign for himself for the DPOY award. And once he started publicly campaigning for himself, it started to catch on like wildfire. And next thing you knew, people who have votes all across the league were talking themselves into Draymond as the Defensive Player of the Year. Draymond is a terrific defensive player. Evan Mobley is also a terrific defensive player. Draymond Green is an excellent public speaker. Evan Mobley is not. He's better than he was a couple of seasons ago, but he is still not comfortable in front of a microphone propping himself up. I'm going to show you that here in a second. Now, since this whole propaganda campaign started by Draymond Green, which, by the way, kudos to Draymond. He's done a masterful job with this. The Cavs have tried to fight back. You have seen in the locker rooms and post-game interviews, Donovan Mitchell referring to Evan as the DPOY, Darius Garland calling him the DPOY, Tristan Thompson walking behind anyone in the Cavaliers locker room saying Evan is the best defensive player in basketball. And after their win on Tuesday night, the Cavs clinched the 1 seed, and Evan and Darius came to the podium together. I was sitting in the room. I asked them both a question. And the final question of the press conference, and I have video, and I'm going to show you guys that video in a second, was a friend of mine, Jackson Flickinger, asking Darius and Evan to make the case as to why Evan Mobley should be the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, I said it before. I'll say it again. Evan Mobley is not comfortable in front of a microphone yet. He is more comfortable now than he was as a rookie and in his second and third seasons, but he is still not super comfortable. He's too humble of a guy, and he does not like to praise himself. And Darius Garland, who does a great job setting up his teammates on the court, did his best on the fly to defend Evan Mobley, but I thought his argument left a lot to be desired. So this is Darius Garland and Evan Mobley from the Cavs post-game press conference on Tuesday after clinching the 1 seed by beating the Chicago Bulls on why Evan should be the DPOY. Here's Darius, here's Evan, and then when this is done, I'll come back and tell you why they need my cheat sheet for future press conference appearances.
Darius, you mentioned a couple times that Evan should be the Defensive Player of the Year. If you were to make an argument for him, what would it be?
Evan Mobley. One personal foul tonight. That's good. He doesn't hack. He doesn't hack. He doesn't scream at the refs. He goes block shots. His deflection numbers is out the roof. He guards 1 through 5. What doesn't he do? He just doesn't express it how other people express it. So, if you look at the numbers, if you watch a Cavs game, you see all the impact that he does for us on both sides of the ball, just not in defense. But since we're on DPOY, blocks, deflections, switching out 1 through 5 and on elite guards. It's really a guard league right now, and he's switching out on some of the top guards in the league and really holding his own. We all stay home when he gets a switch. That's how much confidence we have in him. So that's just a little bit of my case. I can go on Twitter or go on a podcast and go do the same thing for my boy, but I'm gonna let him talk his talk whenever he wants to.
Evan, do you have anything that you want?
Talk your talk.
What he said is a lot of it, but my biggest thing is guy my size, my wingspan, my agility. You don't really see that. In the contenders, is nobody even close to that
At all.
And also the stats as well. Speak for itself. The blocks,
You got some stats?
the fouls. I don't foul.
1.6 blocks a game.
Steals, deflections. Also, people don't even go up against me in
They
the paint,
scared.
so that's not even a stat. There's a lot, but the defense is kind of ran, so I'm involved in a lot of the actions, and me and Jay are protecting the paint is based around us, so that's a big factor as well.
And he averages 1.6 blocks a game. That's a lot of blocks. So I'm just saying. Yeah.
Okay.
At his size, what he said. What? Come on, bro. It shouldn't be a question.
So one of those goofy guys laughing in the background during that press conference moment was myself. And since then, Channing Frye, former Cavalier, went on Twitter and said, hey, somebody has to send me the cheat sheet as to why Evan should be DPOY over everyone else. So I took it upon myself. I texted with Shannon today. I sent him this. So if you hear Shannon use any of these stats in the future, Channing Frye, you know where you heard him first. Now, this is something I will also send the Cavaliers PR team. I'll send Evan Mobley. I'll send Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, you name it. I will send it to whoever needs this so they can be well equipped to fight the good fight that helps prove Evan Mobley has been the most valuable defensive player in basketball this season. So let's start. First and foremost, the Cavs this season are 4.8 points per 100 possessions better defensively with Evan Mobley on the court than they are with Evan Mobley on the bench. The Warriors are just 2.8 points per 100 possessions better with Draymond Green on the court than they are with Draymond Green on the bench. So that's a pretty basic way to look at this. The Cavs with Mobley on versus Mobley off the court, 4.8 points per 100 possessions better. The Warriors just 2.8 points per 100 possessions better. Advantage, Evan Mobley. Number two, how about contests, blocks, and foul percentage? You heard Darius Garland mention that in his little point. Evan doesn't foul, and he's right. Evan ranks in the 90th percentile in bigs for foul percentage. The higher the percentile in this instance, the better. He's in the 90th percentile in foul percentage, despite the fact that according to Cleaning the Glass, he is also in the 81st percentile in block percentage, and he is second in the entire NBA in contests per game with 10.4. So he contests 10.4 shots per game, second most in the league. He's in the 81st percentile of blocks, and he doesn't foul. He's in the 90th percentile in fouls. Draymond, on the other hand, contests 9.1 shots per game, so fewer contests. His foul percentage in the 31st percentile, significantly lower than where Evan Mobley's is. And his block percentage in the 60th percentile, so lower than Evan Mobley in all three. Next up, How about the Cavs' defensive rating? It's not points per 100 possessions, but it's a similar advanced analytic. The Cavs this season, when Evan Mobley is on the court, they have a defensive rating of 108.6. That would rank second in the NBA, trailing only the Oklahoma City Thunder. When Evan Mobley goes to the bench, so all minutes Cleveland plays without Evan Mobley on the court, their defensive rating goes up to 111.1, which ranks near the bottom of the top 10. The Warriors' defensive rating, with Draymond Green on the court, is 109 flat. That would be tied for second in the NBA. Their defensive rating with Draymond Green on the bench is 110.4. That ranks in the top 5 in the NBA. So the Cavs with Evan Mobley on the court, second best defense in basketball. Evan Mobley on the bench, they're a top 10, but bottom of the top 10 level defense. The Warriors with Draymond on the court, tied for second best with Draymond on the bench. They are still a top 5 defense. The difference in net rating between the two when they're on versus when they're not on the court is 3.3 for Evan Mobley and just 1.4 for Draymond Green. That is more than double for Mobley than it is for Draymond Green. Next up, and there are some knocks on Evan Mobley because he plays alongside Jared Allen. And you should say, well, he's got great teammates around him that help defensively. Well, the Cavaliers' defensive rating drops or gets worse, however you want to phrase it, by 1.1 points per game when Mobley is on the court and Allen is off. They're at their best when they're together, but when Allen goes to the bench, the Cavaliers' defensive rating gets worse by 1.1 points per net rating, or defensive rating, excuse me. If you're going to knock Evan Mobley for playing alongside Jared Allen, then the same thing should be consistent in terms of Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. You see on your screen right now, 1.1 point drop off when Mobley stays on the court and Allen goes off. Well, the Warriors, their defensive rating drops or gets worse, 5.4 points when Draymond Green is on the court and Jimmy Butler is off. So yeah, there's a bit of a drop off. The defense certainly gets worse when Evan Mobley stays on the court and Jared Allen shifts off. The Warriors defense gets drastically worse when they swap out Jimmy Butler for another substitute. 5.4 as opposed to just 1.1. That is a drastic difference. You can look at some of the traditional box score stats. Rebounding is a big part of playing defense. A defensive possession does not end until the team grabs a rebound. And then when it comes to rebounding, there is no bigger disadvantage in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation than in that particular category. Evan and Draymond play about the same minutes per game. Evan's at 30.4, Draymond's at 29.2. So about a minute more per game for Evan than for Draymond. But look at the difference in the rebounding numbers. 9.3 per game for Evan Mobley, 6.1 per game for Draymond Green. B-Ball Index does a great job of putting every player in the NBA into a category that they can then compare and contrast. So B-Ball Index has a rebound talent grade. Out of 419 qualified players in this category, Evan Mobley ranks 53rd in rebounding talent. Draymond ranks 301st out of 419. That is nearly a 250 spot difference between the two. Blocks, 1.6 for Evan, just 1 for Draymond Green. Steals, just shy of 1 for Evan. Draymond gets the advantage here with 1.4. If you combine them into a stat called stocks, steals, and blocks, 2.5 for Evan, 2.4 for Draymond. And these are all B-Ball Index percentiles. The higher the percentile, the better. The rim protection, both very good. Evan, 96th percentile, better than Draymond's 91st percentile. Rim contests, 92nd percentile for Evan Mobley, 61st percentile for Draymond Green. We talked about the rim contest numbers earlier in the slideshow. Rim deterrence. So how many times does somebody see that player at the rim and say, I'm not even going to put up a shot? Draymond is the number 1 player in the league according to B-Ball Index. He is in the 100th percentile. Evan's in the 98th. He's top 5 in basketball. So yes, Draymond may be the best of the best, but Evan not far behind whatsoever. Rim point saved. So attempts at the rim that were either blocked, contested, forced, missed. B-Ball Index has Evan Mobley in the 92nd percentile. he has Draymond Green in the 85th. And then help defense, the ability to switch 1 through 5, help and clean up when other guys get beat. These are two of the best guys in basketball. The 98th percentile for Evan, the 99th for Draymond. Even the stuff Draymond is at his best at, he is only slightly better than Evan Mobley. The stuff that Evan is better than Draymond at, there is a large gap between the two. There are other numbers that favor Draymond. You could look at certain numbers for Lou Dort or Dyson Daniels. Jaren Jackson certainly has a case. Toumani Camara of the Portland Trail Blazers, in my opinion, was one of the most impressive defensive players I've seen in person this year. But when push comes to shove, Evan Mobley's the DPOY. And those are all the pro-Evan numbers. I can make another slideshow that shows pro-Draymond numbers. And I think it is very close. I don't think this is a runaway landslide by any means. However, if it is as close as I do truly believe it is, then I do think team overall success, record, defensive status among the league should be one of the tiebreaker conversations. Tiebreakers, not a determining factor, but a tiebreaker. And as far as team success goes, Evan Mobley is on the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference with 67 wins. Draymond Green is on a play-in team in the Western Conference with 47 wins. And you can say one team surging of late and one team slumping. Well, in their last 25 games, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 19-6. The Golden State Warriors are 19-6. So it's all about perspective when you look at their last 25 games since the All-Star break. I will die on the hill that Evan Mobley is the crux of this Cavaliers defense. And sure, they may have taken as a team a slight step back since Kenny Atkinson took over for J.B. Bickerstaff because they're focusing so much more of their effort on the offensive end. And this is not to take away from Draymond Green, who is a crucial cog of what the Warriors do defensively. And the Warriors have been a very good defensive team this season. But the Cavaliers don't help when Evan Mobley is switched onto a guard on the perimeter. The Cavaliers know they can get beat with Darius and Donovan or Max or whoever on the perimeter and not give up easy buckets because they have a guy into Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to a certain extent behind them to erase any mistakes. Evan Mobley is a defensive unicorn. He's not Wemby. Wemby's in a class of his own. He's an alien. But Evan's a unicorn. And when push comes to shove, for my money, there has not been a better, more versatile, qualified, keyword qualified defender for the DPOY award than Mr. Evan Mobley. If you want those stats, you go back, screenshot them. I'll be happy to send anyone the slideshow and the accompanying Word document so they can help fight the good fight and push the propaganda that Evan Mobley should be this season's DPOY. And since we did this 2 days ago on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, the betting books and the poly market trackers have actually said that it is getting closer and closer to a 50-50 split in terms of their prediction for the DPOY award. So maybe this little propaganda push for Ev is working. 2 other things real quick. The Cavs are resting everybody tonight against the Indiana Pacers outside of Jared Allen, who has said he wants to play all 82 games this season. I would expect Jared to play a half, not play the second half. No Donovan, no Darius, no Evan, no Max Strus. That means we're going to get a lot of Craig Porter Jr., a lot of Luke Travers, Naquan Tomlin. Amani Bates is going to get a chance to shine. And these next 3 games will be a really good opportunity for the guys on the end of the bench and even some of the guys fighting for consistent minutes in the playoffs like a Dean Wade and a Sam Merrill and Isaac Okoro or Javonte Green. For those guys to show Kenny Atkinson a little something that they may not be able to playing alongside the core 4 or some of the main guys on this roster. So I'm excited to see how a couple of those guys perform in the final 3 games to see if they can chisel out some playoff minutes. And last but not least, Darius Garland found his shooting groove against the Chicago Bulls on Tuesday. Hit 6 threes. I'm not willing to say he's completely broken out of the slump yet. You have to do it in more than one game to break out of the slump. But in that same post-game press conference we showed a clip from before, Darius came out and said, I needed that. I really did. I needed to get some confidence back and see some shots go through the bucket in order to get back to the groove I was playing in earlier this season. He did it against Chicago. I think he plays one of these final 3 games. Hopefully he has another strong shooting performance. And then they have that week of practice between their final regular season game and the start of their playoff push. And if the Cavs are going to win a championship this season, we'll end with this. If they are going to be the team at the end that hoists the the Larry O'Brien trophy, they need the first half of the year Darius Garland and not the Darius Garland we've seen since the All-Star break. He's been one of the least efficient guards in all of basketball since the All-Star break. Before, he was one of the most efficient. Will he be in that 50, 40, 90 club for a playoff push? Probably not. But they can't win if he's shooting 40% from the floor and 30% from three. He's got to be closer to 45 from the floor, 36, 37, hopefully in the low 40s from three if they're going to beat Boston and OKC or whoever comes out of the West. And a game like we saw on Tuesday night against Chicago could be the catapult to get him to where he needs to be. That's going to wrap it up for this week's Cavaliers Weekly on the Bleacher Report app. If you like what you heard, if you agree, if you disagree, leave a comment. You can follow me on Twitter at MikeLucasTV, and you can watch us every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on YouTube as part of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you next week for a playoff preview edition of Cavaliers Weekly on the Bleacher Report app. Have a good one, guys.